Hey kids, History Channel guy here. So Mexico is not really known for being a military power, even though they did put up a pretty good fight against the United States in the 1800s. But that is a story for another day. And instead, I want to solely focus on Mexico in World War II. Yeah, you got that right. Mexico fought in World War II. Unlike most Latin American countries, Mexico actually sent troops into combat during World War II. The Mexicans sided with the Allies, and they actually played a surprisingly large role in the war. Prior to the war, the United States and Mexico seemed like they would be very unlikely allies. Mexico and the United States had feuded for years over border disputes, and the Zimmerman telegram was still fresh in the minds of many American politicians. To make matters worse, Mexican President Lázaro Cárdenas nationalized the country's oil industry, which angered powerful U.S. companies. The fact is, diplomatic relations between the United States and Mexico were at all-time lows. However, this all changed when the war affected Latin American trade routes, which crippled the Mexican economy. As a result, the United States and Mexico started to help each other to try to keep their economies afloat. After Japan brought the war to the Americas, Mexico was quick to break diplomatic ties with Germany and Japan. Moreover, in January, Mexico and Brazil argued to a conference of foreign ministers that all countries in the Western Hemisphere need to unite against Germany and Japan. Obviously, this would not happen because, Argentina still exists, but it still just goes to show the growing relationship between the United States and Mexico. Though I will acknowledge Mexico's inclusion had a large part to do with Germany sinking Mexican shipping containers with German U-boats, but that's besides the point. The United States celebrated Mexico's entry into the war, mostly because it confirmed that the United States would not have an Axis power as its neighbor, considering Canada was already in the fight and Mexico was joining up. Though Mexico joined the Allies, they made it clear that the bulk of their contribution would come in the form of economic and material assistance. However, as the war dragged on, Mexico realized to get a seat at the New World Order, they would need to have soldiers fighting in Europe and in the Pacific. And therefore, as the war went on, they slowly increased the amount of troops they sent. As a result, the Aztec Eagles were created, which was formed of men handpicked by the President of Mexico to train in the United States before getting deployed into combat. The Aztec Eagles included 33 pilots and 270 support personnel. Over the course of the Pacific Theater, the Aztec Eagles logged over 2,000 flying hours and contributed to multiple key bombing raids. It wasn't just the Aztec Eagles who fought in World War II, though. During the war, the Mexican government gave the United States permission to conscript Mexican citizens who were working and living in the United States. Over the course of the war, over 15,000 Mexican nationals served the U.S. military, many of whom have been motivated by the offer to apply for a U.S. citizenship if they survived the war and when their service was done. Of the Mexicans who served, it's estimated that 1,400 of them died in combat. Yet, when these men came home to the United States and Mexico, they were deemed as heroes and were given a hero's welcome. And, to make matters even better, they were seen as a symbol of unity between the United States and Mexico. The last aspect of Mexican involvement I want to go over during World War II, which frankly needs to be discussed, is Mexico's economic side of the war. As hundreds of thousands of Americans were joining up, there was major holes in the U.S. economy, especially in low-wage jobs. As a result, the United States and Mexico agreed to the Bracero program, which had over 300,000 Mexicans recruited to the United States to work in the United States agriculture industry. By the end of the program in 1964, over 4.6 million Mexican workers came to the United States, and historians universally agree that this program set the precedent for Mexican migrant workers to come to the United States, a trend that we still see today. At home, the Mexicans worked hard in increasing their industrial capacity. It is said between 1940 and 1944, the Mexican economy more than tripled their GDP. Amongst the materials provided by Mexico were vital minerals such as copper, zinc, mercury, cadmium, graphite, and lead. In many ways, Mexico became the United States' most stable source of these minerals and further improved trade relations between the two neighbors. These industries did not leave Mexico after the war as well, as until 1970, Mexico's economy on average grew 6% a year, which is pretty impressive. In all, Mexico is a very unsung hero of World War II, but without the war, Mexico would be a shell of itself, and their economy would not be as robust as it is today. It is fascinating to me that Mexico went from a country that Germany asked to invade the United States in World War I to one of the United States' most important industrial suppliers and allies just 20 years later. Though many Mexicans were still angry that the United States took 55% of Mexico's land during the Mexican-American War, the fact is, the United States and Mexico are very important allies today, and we're actually seen as friends, believe it or not. And all this can be traced back to World War II. Much like how Greenland was improved by the war, Mexico was also really, really improved by the war. World War II did a lot of things for a lot of different countries, and it set the precedent for the next 100 years. And it's very fascinating that Mexico was on the right side of it. The United States obviously was on it. Thank you for watching. Remember to like and subscribe if you enjoy this content. I kind of enjoy making these World War II country videos, and they're pretty interesting to research. So if you have any other countries you want me to go over, please let me know. I'm actually going to be in Spain for the next week, so I have a bunch of pre-release videos that I made, but other than that, it might be till like August when I'm able to release and write and film new stuff, just because I'm going to be in Spain for the next 2 weeks. Anyway, thanks guys. See you around, and I hope you enjoy the upcoming videos.